There we go. Let's see. Come on. There we go. Hey,
Hey, Benny, how are you?
pretty great. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Ooh, funky hair.
Mine too. I'm happy I have it still. I just
Yeah,
turned 8 last month, so.
yeah, right? I know.
So I'm super excited about this because, okay, so I random friend requested you about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so I just logged into one of your lives one day on Facebook, and it like I was busy doing something, I was working or something, and I literally logged in for like all of 20 seconds. And in that little sliver of time, I could just hear like, oh my gosh, this person has something like real to offer the world. And I was like, okay, I want
Aw,
at some point. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
thank you.
And so I'm deeply interested in the topics of yoga and meditation, etc. But I'm the kind of guy who like is interested in it but hasn't put in the work. But
Yeah.
I'm at least aware that it is something of value. So I'm a dating coach, and people that watch my videos are usually interested in these kind of topics. And so I thought, well, man, like people get nervous on dates, like
Yeah.
everybody get anxiety and everybody's getting in their head and stuff. And I was like, man, like it would be so cool to just talk about that today. So I guess so in an attempt to keep you humble, I'm just going to run down your achievements.
Oh, God.
Just give people a perspective of who you are,
Yeah.
right? For who's watching this. So I just got on your blog, right? And I was just looking at a couple of bullet points. So it sounds like you started yoga about 9 or 10 years ago.
Yep. 10 years ago, about. Yeah.
And then like in your first year, you opened your own school.
Yep. Yeah, I opened up a studio. Yeah. In that
Okay.
first year. Craziness. Madness.
Okay. And then so that was in Atlanta. You sold that, and then you started another one.
I did. So I started that with another woman, and it was a bit far from my house. So I had decided about 2 years in, I wanted to be closer to home. So I sold my half to her and opened up another one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you still run it now? Because I see that you're teaching all over the place.
I don't. So about
Okay.
a year ago, I sold it. I just was kind of just tired of all the management stuff, to be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
managing other people. And I've led like, I don't know, six, seven teacher trainings. So teaching other people how to be yoga teachers, and loved the personal transformation work with it.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on that, on the personal transformation. So still lead teacher trainings, still teach classes around Atlanta. And now, like you, I coach people. So like people who don't necessarily want to do yoga teacher training, but they want that work we do in teacher training about like
Okay.
owning their own story and how to get past like their own bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that stuff.
That's awesome. So I saw on your site you said you trained over 100 yoga teachers.
Yeah,
And,
at least
and
probably. Yeah.
10,000 plus hours of instruction. So like for people who watch it, like you're the real deal. Like I thought it was cool to like throw that in there. Okay. So I do have some questions for you.
Yeah.
So for somebody obviously that is interested in dating, but obviously just by even watching a dating video, you're all of a sudden into personal development, right? Because it's not easy. And so for the beginner that's never touched yoga, never touched meditation, self-awareness, or any of these topics, like what are the advantages of these things, getting present to the moment? What are the advantages of these topics, and why should the average person spend time in stillness or doing something that seems boring or really hard to do? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's like so many benefits, right? Like you go on Google and it's like, it's going to give you pages of benefits. But I can tell you like personally, like from personal experience, like the number one benefit for me is not while you're doing it, right? Like, so while you're sitting in like, say, example, meditation, like a lot of people will say, yeah, Rachel, this is just boring, right? Like just sitting here watching myself think, I think I might go insane. And I tell them, you're not going to go insane. First off, you're just going to be a little bit more aware of your own thoughts, but really it's the benefits afterwards, right? So I
yeah,
know for me, I
yeah,
started like seriously meditating a couple of years ago. I do it every day. Actually, I even got my husband into it. He does it now every
yeah,
morning with me, and it just calms your nervous system. So just the simple act of being still just doing that and breathing, and you don't have to do it for long, right? Like you could just do it for even just 5 minutes. In your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system, so the nervous system that controls fight or flight, like that response of like, oh shit, like what am I about to do? Like it's gonna calm it down. It's just magic. Like it's hard
Wow.
to explain why it does it, but
Okay.
it does it.
But it's almost like you do anything and your brain gets wired to that activity. It's
Yeah.
like, or almost like when you think something or say something, you're putting that out into the reality of like the
Yep.
world Peachtree dish. It's like you're growing that, and it makes sense that just by doing the action, you're going to be wired for that calmness.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like by just sitting still, right? Like you're right away, that first act is creating what you want to create, right? So then one of the other amazing things that meditation can do for you is like it can start to help you become more aware of
Mm-hmm.
your own thoughts, right? So like as you become more aware of your own thoughts, you can start to learn which thoughts are benefiting me and which ones are limiting me. And right, so if you have a thought, for example, like going into a date, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so boring. You know, like say you have that thought about yourself, I'm so boring, right? Like you're gonna end up showing up from a really boring place to this person, right?
Yeah.
And when you show up from a boring place, what's your result? Well, they don't want to go out with you again, right? But like if
Yeah.
you can start to understand your own thinking, you can start to actually say, hey, am I really boring? Like would everybody in the world think I'm boring? Probably not, right? And then you can start to ponder, well, so if it's not 100% true, then there's this possibility, right, that I might be interesting to someone. And if I'm interesting to someone, right, then I could be interesting to this person. And then you might show up from that place, right? But like if you
Yeah.
didn't get still, you didn't get quiet and start to listen to the thoughts that are traveling back there in the back of your brain, you might not have never ever even realized that.
That you had the thought and that you
Yeah.
flush it out or not entertain it or entertain some other thoughts like, oh, I'm really funny or cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how it, I have these like novice, like basic level, like level one activities to try to become aware of myself, and it's funny that even doing that stuff, like yeah, it's like all these negative thoughts like that you would entertain when you're all up here that
Yeah.
like once you're in tied into reality, it's like, no, that's stupid, right? It's so
Yeah.
narrow. Not, yeah. So okay, so I definitely see that. So here's a question for you because I have my own. So okay, I'm gonna ask you the question and I'm gonna give you my little example of the
Yeah.
answer. So the question is, what is the best way to rid anxiety before a date? And then I want to give you my little example of something that I do and see if you have other ideas or if you like that or if there's
Yeah.
something. So what I've said before is, okay, so I'm on a way to on the date. So I'm already ready at this point. I'm in the car, like behind the steering wheel, and I don't remember who taught me this. It was from some YouTube video, but I like. Do you know Leo Gura? Do you watch Actualize.org at all? Have you ever heard of that? Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I actually have heard of it.
okay,
Yeah.
I think it might have been him. I don't know,
Okay.
but it's this process of so you're in real time because you're in a car behind a windshield and you're driving down the road, and so you're passing other cars, you're passing road signs, you're passing things in real time, and so I'll just put labels on things as I pass, and so it forces my brain to kind of like get out of my thoughts and like say, oh, red car, green trees,
Yeah.
etc. Like do not walk sign, and I'll just do that for long enough just to like forget about whatever I was anxious about, and then I'm present for that moment. It might come back and I'll do it again. Or sometimes my other trick is to kind of like lean into the anxiety. So if let's say I'm nervous and this girl, let's say I'm assuming that this girl is like a won't like me because I'm imputing status to her or something like that, right? And so then what I might do is just like think about instead of running from the feeling that's causing me anxiety or the thought, I'll be like, oh, like okay, so she doesn't like me, like fuck it, I'll go on some other date or whatever, and then that will calm it too. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you had to say about that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So like kind of what you're doing is something that we call resourcing.
Okay.
So really similar is that like grounding yourself. So like one of the things that I teach people often to do, and we do this honestly also before we often even start like a yoga class, or before I start like most of my sessions with people, is like just start to feel into your body, right? So
Okay.
start to awaken your senses, like so like feel your feet, you know, on the floor, like really connect yourself to where you're at in that moment, right? So like
Uh,
feel your body, feel your breath, but then not just that, like all of your senses, like what is the temperature on your skin right now, and what's the taste in your mouth, and what do you hear, what's like the sounds around you. And then what that does is it helps get you like what you're doing, just like out of your head, right? Like out of these thoughts of like probably not feeling good enough, which is what I think a lot of things revert back to,
yeah.
is
Yeah.
this feeling that like
The-
we aren't going to be good enough for this person, or we're not good enough for this situation, or you know whatever. And then it allows you to just sort of your nervous system again to like calm a bit, and then you can sort of take a step, take a deep breath right in. And I'll sometimes tell people like if you breathe out longer than you breathe in, that's another way that you can actually calm your nervous system. So if you like ground yourself with your five senses, and then you
Okay.
take like 10 breaths, and the
Yeah.
exhale is longer than the inhale, like you literally count them. So like you
Okay.
breathe in for 4, but like breathe out for 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, your brain will literally start to be like, whoa. And you'll start to
Yeah.
like come down a bit. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's so cool. That's like I'm
Yeah.
writing this.
And then like you said, right? Like you can start to be like, okay, so what's worst case scenario? Okay, they don't
Right.
like me, right? And then, okay, well, I got to learn something from it, right? Like I see everyone as our teacher. So like if you can go into like when I was in the dating world, I just got married like 6 months ago.
Okay.
And when I was in the dating world, I just like go into every date, like, okay, so what's this person? What can I learn from this experience?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's like, you know,
Learn from
even if it
anybody, right?
sucks,
Like even assholes have something. They
yes.
we all have like a pie, right? So
Yeah.
if a pie is the allocation of your time spent, even an asshole has spent allocated time in some skill or some discipline. We can learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
I
like
totally
right,
think that.
like you can learn also like, well, I'm not going to show up that way, right? You know, like that
Yeah.
person was such a jerk, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe they weren't a jerk, maybe they just like weren't present, like they're distracted by their phone or whatever. And
Hmm.
like I feel like you start to learn like what do you really want in your partner, right? Like I want someone who's going to be willing to put their phone down and have like a real conversation with me. I mean, not everybody wants that, but right, like what do you want? And you
Yeah.
can learn a lot by what you see other people don't offer you.
Yeah. 100%. I totally agree with that. Yeah, present to notice.
Yeah, and like if you're so like in your head, you'll miss it all.
So okay, so that's cool. So I want to recap that. So you said
Yeah.
the breathing thing. So you exhale
Yes.
for 2 seconds longer than what you
Yeah.
would. Okay.
So normally like I tell people start with like most people, like everyone has like a max breath, right?
Hmm.
And so I say most people it's like around 3. So start with like inhale for 3, exhale for 4.
Okay. Okay.
Simple.
Very cool. I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a good question for you, and I'm trying to scroll through my computer. So
Yeah. Of
wait, sorry.
course.
So the question. So what is the best way to escape? So we're all like carrying around negative energy, like not even meaning to, I feel like, from work and from our environment and the people we interact with and et cetera. I mean, I think it's important to get out of these situations as much as we can, but we inevitably get affected. And so a lot of times people are going on dates maybe Friday night at the end of their work week. They've interacted with stress all week. So what's
Yeah.
a great way to like dump because I think that most people have this intuitively. I think that especially women are good at this. They'll turn on music, they'll dance, like they'll vibe out or whatever. And a lot of people have this process without even realizing it. They have a process for this, but I'm sure that as we are more intentional about it, there's probably a lot better ways than just like dancing and turning on music. Even though I love that, I do that before dates too. You know.
I think that whatever gets you out of that space is what works for you. I think so often we're always looking for answers from other people, but like,
Yeah.
so my husband and I were talking about this the other day. Like, you know, when you feel like really angry or really anxious, like the best thing to do is to move, is to get your body moving. And what a lot of people do is they'll like shut down, right? They'll like go sit on the TV, go sit on the couch, watch TV, or they'll go grab a glass of wine, right? Or a beer. But really, that's just buffering away the feelings you're feeling, and they're just going to stay there. But if you go move, like whether it's like dancing, you said, or like go move your couch around the room. I don't know, like adjust your furniture, right? Or go outside and take a walk, or go for a run, or like I get on my yoga mat. But you got to figure out what's your special spice, what's your magic, right? And move, then breathe, and then write down anything that was bothering you. That's to me like the cure for most people's anxiety.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Because I think a lot of people have their chosen discipline, right? Like I like jujitsu, and when I get to doing that, it escapes me from whatever it is. But I think that, okay, well, I can't necessarily go train jujitsu before I go on a date. You know, because like you go home, you have this little window. But like I guess, like you said, you could even do jumping jacks, or like you said, couch around or whatever in the house if it came down to it.
One of my clients was saying that the other day. We were on the phone, and she's like, "I'm so like, you know, just my anxiety was so heavy." And so she's like, "So I just started moving, rearranging furniture." I'm like, "That's perfect. You matched the anxiety, right, to the movement.
Okay.
Like match the intensity you feel, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be like 2 minutes."
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So one thing that I started doing, and it's gonna be seen as a little bit cheesy or whatever, but I started recording affirmations in my own voice, because another guy in one of my groups that I belong to was doing this, and you know, he had some tips for doing this, like use I am statements, blah blah blah. But I'll like record it and I'll put it on a loop on my on an app that'll just play it while I go to sleep, and I have the volume low so it doesn't disturb my sleep and set. And I think of you know it's funny, and
I love it.
You know, but it's like it's life. Like we're out here in this world, right? And like any little thing we can do to get ahead increases our quality of life. You know, as long as it's ethical and it helps people, or you know what I mean. It's like that's and so I think of funny little things like affirmations or whatever from the personal development world, or you could consider that, you know, from like the world of meditation or self-awareness and all this. I mean, that's where that advice would generally come out of that corner. And so my question is like, will things genre would you say are things would translate well to say even the dating world, like just some beginner that wants to, because I feel like the bottom line is the life change, right? But the entry point is the little tips and tricks, you know?
Yeah. So like one thing I do every day, I highly encourage you to do this too, is I call it thoughts on purpose. Okay, so it's kind of like a mantra, but a little bit different, right? Because what I'm doing is, what do I want to think for the day? Like, what do I want to believe, right? So, like, you go to Whole Foods and you have like this ginormous salad bar, right? And you could pick hot food, cold food, fruit, you know, all these amazing choices, right?
Yeah.
But you go pick it. But so many of us, I feel like, are just running on default, right? Like we don't do it that we can do that with our brain. We can wake up in the morning and write down like 4 or 5 thoughts that we want to think on purpose, or we can let our default brain go to work and choose them for us. Like, right? Like you go to Whole Foods and pick out what you want. You don't go there and someone just throws it on your plate and you're like stuck with what you got, right?
Oh, that's good. So as you're saying this, I'm feeling like this blends well with planning out your week, because if you're going on a date on Friday, you could be like, okay, my thought for the day of Friday is like people like I'm funny, people like to spend time with me, blah blah blah.
That's, you just nailed it. People like me. People like spending time with me. You know, people think I'm fun. People think I'm kind. Yeah, like those are great thoughts, right? Like, so you can choose to think those, or you could choose to think the ones that probably are, running wild on their own, which may not be serving you.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like for people that haven't entertained this kind of stuff before, they kind of scoff at the idea of saying something so nice to yourself is just like people like me. It's like some, it's like a easy soundbite or whatever, but like it's so true because if it's not that, what is it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and so you
Well,
might
if
as
you
well have good programming.
Yeah, and if you think about it, right? Like if you come from this thought people like me, it makes you feel like good about yourself, right? And when you feel good about yourself, you show up in a really different way than when you're not feeling good about yourself and you're down on
Yeah,
yourself, right? Like you're going to just end up being like a lot more enjoyable to be around.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
So okay, so if somebody's okay, so this is another little tactical thing, I guess. So if somebody's on a date, and this happens to me sometimes. I hate it. I hate it so much, probably because I don't meditate. But I'll be in. I'm very attentive. I'm a good listener. I like to think of thoughtful things to say to that person. But even I feel like get trapped in like sometimes I'll get lost in the conversation, or maybe my mind will wander, and then it's time to like refocus. Like I think that, or let's say it wasn't even got negative self-thought in that moment or something. Is there a tip for almost being face to face with somebody where it's like, hey, like jolt out of it, like you got to come back to, is there anything like that, or is that just like some fringe benefit of the actual work that you put in day to day?
I think it's a French benefit for the most part, but I do think like just noticing that, like just like not beating yourself up about it. Like, oh crap, I was in my mind. Okay, I'm gonna let it go, and now I'm back here with you. You don't say that. You're saying that to yourself, right? Like you're not gonna say to the person, "Oh, I was in my head right now. Let's go back a moment." I mean, that could be a little weird and creepy, right? But you can say to you could say to yourself like, it's okay, I'm human and the human brain does this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm back, right? Like instead of like I think we get like instead like distracted by our thought, and then that thought we start beating ourselves up, which just takes us out for so much longer when we could
yeah,
have been
yeah,
present back
yeah,
so much quicker.
yeah, totally. I totally get that. Yeah, so don't beat yourself up for it, just let it
Yeah,
go.
let it go. I think it's just like normal. I mean, I think it's like what our brains do. I think so many times like we're trying to make our brains like be something that I would say they're not capable of. Like I think through time and a lot of practice we can be better at being present, but I think it's also being human, right?
uh,
Being kind
yeah.
of like human is okay. It's a good thing.
True. Yeah, but like we think like, oh, it's only me, because we don't
Yeah.
like not everybody gets out there and talks about this kind of stuff, right? It's like, okay, I have this problem, and it's embarrassing because it's like real, and you have the feelings with it, and then the identity and all this stuff, and so nobody wants to put it out there, and then it's like we think it's only us, but really it's like
Yeah.
every, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean everybody's brain wanders, right? Like I mean
yeah,
maybe not monks, but like I don't know, I meditate every day and my brain still wanders. It wanders
really,
while I meditate and it wanders even like, I'll be like talking to my husband, having like this great conversation. All of a sudden I'm like thinking about like my clients, like
yeah. I'm curious. Okay, so okay, I got two more questions for you, but I just thought of
yeah.
this one. So let me ask you this. So, as somebody who meditates every day and is putting in lots of time on the yoga mats, etc., like what is the net effect of that? As somebody who's like in the thick of it, like
Yeah.
what is your quality of life from day to day, feelings wise, like after putting, like
Yeah.
what is that like?
So
Because people don't do this.
yeah, I can tell you like the before to the now.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
um I used to be a super anxious person and I used to yell and scream and hopefully my ex-husband's not on here, but yeah, I was definitely I was a bitch a lot of the time. And I think a lot of it was just that anxiety just made me feel like completely out of control, right? And I think one of the greatest benefits of meditation and moving your body with breath, like really being conscious and aware of it, is that it allows you to release like blocked up stuff, like stories and emotions and trauma that lives in our bodies. And then, so now I find myself sometimes like pinching myself, like, who am I? Like, I can let so many
Wow.
things just like roll off my shoulders. My husband will sometimes say, I do not know how you let, like, we've got 5 kids together. And he's like, I don't know how you let so much of that stuff just go. And it's like, I don't know. It's just happens. So yeah, it just happens. It's like magic, I swear.
I feel like I can connect to that just like in this small way, because when you start doing jujitsu, so all the people that have the road rage going out on the roads, and then, you know, guys have the macho thing. And so like if they get into a clash in a social situation, they feel like they have to play it out and all this kind of stuff. And like when you start to train jujitsu, yeah, you get, you know, a little bit of breathing and some movement, etc. So there's that effect from it, but also like you just become so calm because you realize that you don't have to kind of prove yourself in that way anymore, that you let go a little bit. And so I know it's those, the mechanics of it are different. Like it's for why over here with jiu-jitsu, a different reason over here for yoga and meditation. But like I feel like I can connect to that just a little bit. That feeling of a little bit of tranquility, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like you just said, like you like it's a little bit of self-acceptance, right? Like you get to this place where you start to accept yourself more.
Yeah,
And I
totally.
think there's a lot of different avenues to get there. I just think like, you know, some avenues, yoga, meditation, jiu-jitsu, a lot of like the martial arts, like I think some of those avenues, because there's so much of the mind-body connection, they just, I think they are sometimes an easier avenue than sometimes other ones.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely get it. Okay, 2 more questions, and then I'll
Yeah.
let yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so what are the best books for somebody to read if they're interested in these
Ooh.
topics, awareness, etc.? Like if you're going to give it to a beginner, right?
Yeah. So I
Or
think the
and maybe like your best of all time too.
yeah. Okay. So best book probably for a beginner that wants to get into meditation, I would probably say is Bliss by
Okay,
Light Watkins,
so
because he
not power
makes it,
out.
yeah, no. I
Okay,
mean, honestly, he makes it so easy and so applicable to like the everyday person.
okay, so Bliss by
Light Watkins. I love his book. I think he's great. He's like, I've seen him talk and he's just like super real and yeah, he makes
okay,
it
cool.
super easy and really adaptable, I think, for everyone.
So on that note, what a book? So you as advanced in this area, like
I
what
don't know
would be
about advanced.
again? Okay, for me, I don't know,
Yeah,
but like if I'm here, like you're up here, so like
yeah.
for the in your mind, where have like what's the best book that you've ever read that have just like opened doors for you,
Yeah.
like man?
Okay, I would say there's two. One is called The Untethered Soul.
Okay, okay. I think I've actually this is on my reading list because I like when I get a new book, I put it in an
Yeah.
app. So I've heard of that, so that's on there. Okay, cool.
I can't remember at the moment who wrote it, but an
Okay,
amazing book. A little bit hard, I think it's for some people to grasp, but I thought it was amazing.
okay,
Um, and then I don't know, it's not really a meditation book, but I just think it's a book every human should read. Is Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements.
yeah. I just read that a few months ago. Yeah,
Super
that-
easy to read, and if every human followed those four agreements, I just think life would be a lot more peaceful.
yeah. Take effort though.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, one last question. Okay, and then if you
Yeah,
want to, okay. So sorry, my phone went pause for
that's
a
okay.
second. Okay, so if someone so if somebody puts basic effort into healing themselves before a date, and then all of a sudden, so say somebody that watches my videos, like they try some of this stuff out, they like it, and now all of a sudden they're interested to go deeper. So obviously they can read those books, but what's the next step? Should they try yoga? Should they try meditating at home? Like what would you say?
Oh, I think whatever speaks to them, honestly. I mean, I think a lot of people enter meditation through yoga. Like they'll start with the physical, the asana practice, and then they'll get really curious about why they're starting to feel different. So then they'll start to explore, like, so a lot of people don't know that yoga actually has 8 limbs to it, not just the physical postures.
Oh,
um yeah, and it's like, it's all, a lot of it is to get you to be able to sit in meditation. So eventually at some point they say, you can reach what they call samadhi, which is like enlightenment, right? Like turning
right.
the lights on, basically.
Yeah.
The ecstasy. So I really say, like, whatever like sparks your interest is where you start, right? I also highly recommend, like, if you're interested in meditation, like, seek out someone who can help guide you and really teach you some of the breath work and teach you really just tools to make it easier for you, because I know a lot of people, like, they give up because they just don't have someone to just sort of plug and ask questions.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I noticed that you teach all over the place. Like I looked
Yeah.
at your website that because I know you do one-on-one coaching, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see, you're teaching in Alpharetta, Roswell, Dunwoody, Buckhead right now, right?
I'm everywhere.
Oh, all over the place. Okay, okay. But let's say, so I live in Bethlehem. Okay, so let's say
Yeah.
somebody like me, I'm way up like near Winder. Like I'm not going to drive down like past Gwinnett
Yeah,
typically. So do you do like coaching too, like
I
over
do.
like
Like
FaceTime stuff like
all of
that, or?
yeah, all my coaching I do like through Zoom. So like
Okay,
I can see your
yeah,
face, you can see my face, and yeah.
cool,
So
cool.
doesn't really require, I mean, some of the local people I do it face to face, like we'll meet up, but I got clients, like I'm sure like you do too, like just honestly, like everywhere. It's not
Yeah,
limited. That's one of the beautiful things I think about like technology, right? Is we can do
yeah,
this work and everyone can touch people's lives without having to actually like physically be in their space.
yeah, 100%. Man, I was so excited for this. I'm glad this went like super well. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you
Uh,
so much for inviting me.
Yeah, yeah, I totally knew I would. Like I said, like when I tapped into your live, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. Is there anything else you want to throw out there before we close it out?
Yeah, no, just that, like, if anyone's interested, don't like hesitate, like DM me, don't hesitate to reach out, like, just even to just ask questions.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
love this stuff. It's definitely, like, in yoga we call it your dharma. So like your purpose, like, like what fires you up, and like, what gets you all like excited to live.
Yeah. So it's rewarding to coach people
Yeah.
and talk about it and to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool. Hey, thanks so much for taking your time.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Have a great afternoon, evening.
You too.
Okay. Bye.